This conference will now be recorded.
Now, now we'll see how can we invoke the third-party web services in order to get the required information from that web service. Now, let's see that process. How can we do this? Whenever if you want to connect to any third-party services, okay, whenever if you want to connect to any third-party web services, then we are using the three classes which has been given by Salesforce. Salesforce has given three standard ready-made classes through which we can able to invoke a request to the third-party web service, and then we can able to get the response back. So what are those three classes? The first one, HTTP class. Second one, HTTP request class. Third one, HTTP response class. These are the three classes has been given by Salesforce. Now, whenever if you want to invoke the third party web services, okay, whenever if you want to invoke the third party web services, then we are using the three classes: HTTP class, HTTP request class, and HTTP response class. Then what exactly this HTTP class, what we can do? What is this HTTP request class, what we can do? What HTTP response class, what we can do? What is the use of these classes? Now let's see practically one by one. First of all, with that HTTP class. So basically, HTTP class is used to send the request to the third-party web service and to get the response back. In order to send the request and then to get the response back, we are using this HTTP class. So HTTP classes used to initiate the HTTP request and that we can make a request to the third-party web service, and then we can get the response with the help of this HTTP class. So as part of this HTTP class, we are going to be using one common method that is called as send. These are all our instance methods. That means instance methods means which can be accessible by using the object. So we have to create the object of the HTTP class, and then we can call this method by using object name dot send method. What is this send method? Send method request to the third-party web service based on the endpoint URL. Based on the endpoint URL, okay, we can send the request to the third-party web service, and then we can get the response. So we are having that send method. Send method is used to send the request to that respective web service based on the endpoint URL, and then we can get the response back. So this is one of the method which we are using as part of this HTTP class. Next, then whenever if you want to send the request, then we have to indicate, right, to which web service you want to connect. What is that web service endpoint URL? Endpoint URL means that web service URL. And then what is that method which you would like to invoke? And then if that web service requires any parameters, how can we supply the input parameters? We have to indicate all these things. For that one, first of all, we have to prepare the request. Okay, first of all, we have to prepare the request. So to prepare that request to be used to send a request to that third-party web service, we are using the help of a class called as HTTP request class. So we are using this HTTP request class. HTTP request class is used to prepare a request which is used to be sent to the third-party web service to perform the operations. So we can prepare the request so that we can able to initiate that web service. That web service may be having any method. It may be get method, put method, post method, delete method, whatever. All these things you know. Already we have prepared some web services also by using these methods. Now, whenever if you want to invoke that web service, then that will be what method you need to invoke. Whether you want to invoke that get method or put method or post method or patch method or delete method or what type of method it is. We have to indicate that method over here. Now, so in this case, if that web service requires any input parameters, then we have to pass the parameters also with the help of this request body. Okay, we can able to pass the required input parameters also. Suppose if the web service is expecting any input values, then we can pass those input values also through this request in the form of request body. And along with that, we can specify the connection timeouts as well. That means how much time it has to try. Okay, how much time it has to try to connect to the web service, because that web service may be busy in some cases. That web service endpoint URL may be wrong. Upon preparing that, you might have entered some wrong endpoint URL. So in this case, how much time do I need to try to connect to that web service here? How much time do I need to try? So for that one, we can specify that timeout also here. And then whenever if you're passing the parameters to the web service, in what format you are sending the parameters, in the form of JSON or not, we can indicate here. We can specify the content type. What type of content? Okay, what type of content? In which format you are sending that content? Here we can specify. For that one, as part of this HTTP request class, we are having some set of methods. The first method is set method. Set method is, okay, this is a method name. This method is used to indicate what type of web service method you are going to invoke. What type of method? Because every web service will be having so many methods, because get method, put method, post method, what? Okay, what method you would like to call? You want to call the get method or put method or post method or what? Which method you would like to invoke in that web service? We have to indicate that. Next. So now the set method is used to specify the method name, okay, to which method you would like to invoke in the web service. Second one, we can specify that endpoint URL to which web service you would like to connect. For that, specify that web service URL, we are using a method called as set endpoint. By using this set endpoint method, we can specify the endpoint URL to which web service you would like to connect. That web service endpoint URL we have to specify. Whenever if you want to pass any parameters, then we are using the method called as set body. Set body method is used to specify the request body. Nothing but if the web service is expecting any input parameters, then we have to pass those parameters in the form of request body by preparing the JSON format. And then if you want, we can specify the client certificate name also. That means if you are going to be encrypting the data based on some client certificates, then we have to specify the client certificate name as well. And along with that, we can specify the set timeout. Set timeout is a method which is used to indicate the timeout, nothing but how much time it has to try to connect to that web service. Like for example, when I make a call to a particular mobile number, it will be keep on trying for how much time, 50 seconds or 20 seconds or maximum 30 seconds it will try. If it is unable to connect to that mobile number within 30 seconds, it will be indicating we are unable to reach to that mobile number. Like the similar way, whenever I'm trying to be connected to the web service, then how much time it has to try to connect to the web service. You can specify the set timeout option also. And then whenever if the web service is expecting any authentication codes, like as access tokens, or application keys, at that time we can specify that access token or application keys with the help of the set header method. Set header method is used to indicate, okay, we can able to pass that the authentication tokens also, like as access tokens we can pass, and then refresh tokens also we can pass, and then along with that we can specify the application keys also we can pass by using set header. And then set compressed. That means whenever we are going to be sending the request to that web service, then whatever the data that you have entered, whatever the content that you have entered, this entire information you want to compress or not, so that we can reduce this code. Okay, we can reduce this code or not, so that we can occupy more memory. It can be transferring over the network very easily. For that one, if you want to encrypt that, that means you want to compress that data request information, then we are using the method called as set compressed. These are the various methods are available as part of HTTP request class. HTTP request class is used to prepare the request. In order to prepare the request to connect to the respective web service, we are using this HTTP request class. And then we can specify to which web service you would like to connect, that web service endpoint URL. And then we can specify the method, which method you would like to invoke. What is that method body? Nothing but request body. That means upon invoking the web service, if the web service is expecting any input parameters, then how can we pass those parameters? We can pass in the form of request body. We can specify the timeout options. We can specify the authentication codes also. All this information we can specify, and then we can send that request by using the HTTP class here. As part of this HTTP class, okay, we can able to send that request over here. When you go to this HTTP class, we have a method called as send method. By using this send method, we can send the request to that particular web service. And then as soon as whenever sending the request to that respective web service will be receiving my request, it will process my request, it will send the response. Then how can we capture that response? To capture the response, we are using a class called as HTTP response class. HTTP response class is used to get the HTTP response returned by the web service. So whatever the response has been written by the web service, that response we can able to collect it back with the help of this HTTP response class. Now in that response, we can collect that response body. Nothing but we can get that response body also. That means whatever the response it has sent, whatever the result it has sent, we can collect that result also with the help of this response body. Now we can specify the response headers also. Okay, we can specify the response headers also. Nothing but in which format you want that response. So for example, if the application is sending the response in the form of XML, then we can inform, boss, I don't want the response in the form of XML, I want in the form of JSON. We can inform. We can indicate by using the response header, so that we can indicate in which format you want that response. And along with that, whenever you are getting that response, sometimes that particular web service may be getting failed. That means my request may not be able to process because I did not supply some correct values. I did not supply some right input values here. So whatever the web service that have web service endpoint URL have indicated, that may be wrong. In this case here, it will be returning the response back, but whatever the response web service response input format that you have indicated, that input values are not sufficient. You have supplied some wrong input values, or else your request has been processed successfully. A request has been failed. And then invalid endpoint URL, like that it will be giving some responses. Then if you want to get the status of that response, we are using the help of this response status code also. We can get that status code. Based on that status code, we can to identify what exactly the response, whether it has been processed successfully or whether it has been failed. We can verify that facility is available with the help of this HTTP response class. And then as part of this HTTP response class, we are having the various methods. Like we can use the get body method in order to get the body of that response. That means whatever the result it has sent, that result we can able to get by using this get body method. Get status, what exactly the status of my response? Is it success or failed? We can able to collect that. And the success code, in order to get the success code, we are going to be using this get status code method. By using this get status code method, we can able to identify what is the current status of my response. And then get XML stream reader, which is used to get the XML format of response. In order to get the XML format of response, we are using this get XML stream reader method here. These are few methods are available inside this. Now, we are using these three classes: HTTP class, HTTP request class, HTTP response class. By using these three classes, we can connect to any web service. You can connect to any web service, whatever you want. These are the three classes we are using. Suppose in the entry point of if anybody asks, I want to connect to a third-party web service, then what classes you will use? We are using three classes: HTTP class, HTTP request class, HTTP response class. Then they will raise a question, could you please explain me the process how to implement? Okay, could you please explain me the process how to implement that? Then we can able to explain that information over here, step-by-step implementation we can explain. Now, so now here in this case here, let's see. How can we implement this one? What are the various steps that we need to follow whenever if you want to invoke any third-party web service? Whenever if you want to invoke any third-party web service, what are the various steps that we need to follow? Let me explain the steps. Steps to implement. What are the various steps that we need to follow in order to implement this? Now, whenever if you want to connect to the web service, then first of all, we have to get some required input to invoke that web service. That means what exactly that web service basically, what is that method name? So what is that web service endpoint URL? And whether if the web service is expecting any input parameters or not, we need to identify, collect the required information, invoke that third-party web service. As a step one, get the required input to invoke the third-party web service. Get the required input to invoke the third-party web service. Now, in this one, what we need to do, get the endpoint URL. That means web service endpoint URL. Endpoint URL. This is the first one. In that step one, first of all, collect that endpoint URL. That is what is the web service URL. Now, in this case, so if that web service is expecting any input parameters, that means if it is expecting any authorization code, then collect the required authorization code. Collect the required authorization codes. Authorization codes. For example, access tokens, or it may be application key, or it may be app ID, like that. If we request any authorization codes, then we can able to collect these authorization codes. Upon invoking the web service, if the web service is expecting any input parameters, then prepare that input parameters over here. Prepare the required input values. Prepare the required input values. This is the first step. Whenever if you want to invoke any third-party web service, the first step is we have to collect the required input parameters, collect the required information to connect to the third-party web service. This is the first step. Next, as a step two, whatever the web service endpoint URL is available, okay, whatever the web service endpoint URL is available, add that web service endpoint URL inside your Salesforce instance, okay, inside that remote site settings. In the remote site settings, we have to add. Now, add the web service endpoint URL inside the remote site settings. Remote site settings inside Salesforce organization. Inside your Salesforce organization, inside the remote site settings, we have to add it. Then what is this remote set settings will do? Remote set settings is going to be indicating, boss, this is one of the trusted website. Okay, this is one of the trusted website. This is the one of the trusted web service. Please, okay, please allow me to connect to this web service. We are indicating to that Salesforce, boss, please allow me to connect to this web service. This is the trusted application, so please let me connect. For that one, we have to indicate, or else Salesforce won't enable you to connect to that web services. And then third-party applications also not connect to your Salesforce directly. Salesforce application, third-party applications also not connect to your Salesforce directly. First of all, it will verify whether you are a trusted application or not. If it is a trusted one, then that should be there inside the remote site setting. It's like as a registry. It's like as a registry, it will verify inside it. Now, then where it is available over here? Okay, where it is available. So in this case, we have to go to this. For example, assume that here, I would like to connect to a web service, any of that web service URL, whatever, anything, whatever you want. For example, I would like to connect to a web service called as postal pin code. Postal pin code. Now, here we are having this API documentation. This is a web service URL. Here's a web service endpoint URL. Now, this is a web service endpoint URL. Here we have to specify the pin code number. I'm indicating 500001. Any pin code number you can enter, no problem, whatever you have. And then this web service endpoint URL we have to add, okay, inside your Salesforce instance, inside your remote site settings. Now, so where it is available, remote site settings, let me go to that. Go to the setup menu. Go to the administrator menu in the left panel. Go to the security controls. Inside that, we have an option called as remote site settings. Remote site settings. In that one, click on new button. Click on the new button. Enter the remote site name. For example, postal department. One, enter the web service endpoint URL, and then click on save button. Click on save button. So this is the second step. If you are not adding web service URL inside that remote site settings, then Salesforce won't allow. Salesforce won't allow you to connect to this web service. This is the most important point. Next one. The third one here. Okay, the third one. Third one, invoke the request. As a step 3. Invoke the request by using HTTP request and HTTP response classes, and get the response from the web service and get the response from the web service. Now, As a step 4, once you receive the response, then parse the JSON format of response by using JSON parser class, and store inside the object or represent on the Visual Force page or send the response as an input to other web service. Anything. Now, this is the fourth step. These are the 4 steps you have to follow always. Whenever you are invoking any web service, we have to follow these 4 steps. First of all, we have to collect the required information to connect to web service, to which web service you would like to connect, what is that method name, and what kind of input values we need to supply. All this information you have to gather first. Once you have gathered, then collect that web service endpoint URL, add inside your Salesforce instance inside the remote site settings. Next, as a step 3, we can able to store that. Okay, we can able to prepare that required code in order to connect to the web service by using HTTP class, HTTP request, and the HTTP response class. And then whenever you are invoking this web service, it will be returning some response back to you in the form of JSON. Once response has been received in the form of JSON, then convert that response JSON response into your own type by using this JSON parser class. By using this JSON parser class, parse the JSON format of response and then show that information on your Visual Force page or store inside your database objects also, or else you can pass this input to the other web services also as input. These are the 4 simple steps we have to follow whenever if you want to invoke any third-party web service. Then how can we do that? Now let's see, okay, with a practical use case. Let me show you a practical use case, a live example. How can we connect to a web service? Now, let me take a web service. For example, this is the web service. Postal pin code. This is one of the Postal Department of India's website. It's an Indian government postal department website. It's a third party one. It's not my own. Okay, nobody has built this one. Okay, so we haven't built this one. Okay, Indian government postal department people has built this website. So what is the use of this one? Suppose when coming to the India, okay, they're having postal department branches in different locations. Suppose, okay, I would like to go to the postal department branch in a specific area. I know that area's a branch pin code. I know that area's pin code. Based on that pin code, in that pin code, how many postal department branches are available? I want to find out. So that I can go to the nearest postal department branch so that I can able to perform my operations whatever I want. Now, so in this case, whenever I'm passing that pin code number, based on that pin code, how many branches are available, it will collect all the branches information. It will return to you in the form of JSON format. So for that one here, they have indicated that the API, they have prepared a web service here. This is the web service details, postal pin code API. So they're clearly indicating that postal pin code API allows developers to get details of post office by searching postal pin code of post office branch, okay, name of India. So based on that name or based on that pin code, we can search for the post office branches. So now this is the web service detail. They're indicating, okay, whenever if you want to connect to a third-party web service, who build that web service, those people will give the complete information to you step by step. Okay, what needs to be done, what input parameters are required, what is the URL, what is the method name, everything they will provide to you. No problem. Don't worry about that part. They will give the complete information to you. Like for example, whenever you are purchasing a washing machine, The washing machine people are providing a user guide to you, right? How to use it? Yes, they're clearly indicating that this is a user guide. They're indicating clear by step how to use that. And along with the warranty also. Like the similar way, whenever if you want to connect to the third party web service, that web service people will give you the details how to connect to that. What details are required to connect to the web service? The whole information that is called as API documentation. Okay, to connect to the web service, what are the steps we need to follow? They will be providing the documentation. We have to follow the document here. Web service to web service, okay, the documentation will be different, the steps will be different, process will be different. We have to go through the documentation, understand that flow, then only we have to go with that. Okay, we can't go with our own approach here. So they will be clearly indicating that these are the steps we have to follow to connect to the third party web service. So here also they're indicating that this is a web service URL. This is called as endpoint URL. And then this is having that get method. This is the get method here. Method name, method type is get method. Based on the pin code, if you want to find out the branches, this is the web service URL. If you want to search the data based on the post office branch name, then this is the web service URL. This is the web service URL. This is also a get method. Now they're clearly indicating that. They're clearly indicating that inside the documentation. Now they're clearly indicating postal pin code API returns a response in JSON format. They're clearly indicating that always it is returning that response in the form of JSON format. In that one, that JSON format status field in response is set to success or error. That means whether it has collected the data or not. That means whatever the pin code you have entered, is it correct or not? It will be indicating whether it is success or failure. Now message field will returns message again is the request, and post office field will return the data. That means message field will be indicating how many post office branches are available, and then the post office field will be returning the data. That means here the details about that post office branches. Now they're clearly indicating that here. So in this case, they're clearly indicating that. So they're indicating the valid for the response for valid pin codes. If you're passing a pin code number, this is how response will get returns to you. They have given some sample response format also. It is indicating that message is indicating how many number of branches are available here to give some message. The status field is indicating whether it is successfully collected the details or not. It is indicating. And then post office field, it is indicating the details of the post office branches information. They're clearly indicating everything. They have given some sample information. Example 1, search by postal pin code. This is how it is giving the response. They're clearly indicating that. Now, based on this input details in the API documentation, based on that response, we have to write that parsing code. They will be indicating that, how the response will return to you, in which format. What is the format of response? They will give the response format also. Based on that, we have to write the parsing code. Directly, I can't write the parsing code. If I don't know that what values are indicating in that particular JSON, then how can we write the parsing code? It will be difficult, right? That's what we have to know. This is how they will be giving the JSON format. Then only then based on that format, I will write that parsing code by using JSON parser classes. Okay, now, so in this case here, how can we do this one? Now let's see practically. I want to connect to this web service through live. It's a live web service here, which is one of the government postal department's web service. Then how can we connect to this web service? Now let me show you practically in this case. Now in this case, so let me take this use case now. Take the use case. So now what I want to do is I would like to design a visual first page. Okay, I would like to design a visual first page. Now, so now here in this case, let me show you here how can we do this one. For example, assume that I would like to design a user interface like this. I would like to design a Visual Force page like this. In this Visual Force page, I would like to specify some information. Let me design by my own. I would like to have a Visual Force page like this. Now, I have that system, a third-party system is available. This is the government website. This is the postal department's web server. This is the government of India's postal department server. In that one, they have built a web service. They have prepared a web service over here. They have prepared a web service. This is a web service which they have prepared. Now, internally, it will be having a database. Internally, it will be having a database. So it is having a database over here. It is having a database. So internally, it is having a database. Postal department is having their own database where they are maintaining all their branches information. This is the database. So what this web service will do, this web service is going to be connecting to the respective web service. This web service is going to be connecting to the respective database by passing that pin code number. Based on that pin code, it will be getting the respective response over here. Okay, now this is the third party application. Okay, the postal department server is available. There is a web service. Now I would like to have a Visual Force page inside my Salesforce instance. Okay, inside my Salesforce instance, I'm having a Visual Force page. In this Visual Force page, I would like to have a search functionality to search for the data, okay, which will be connecting to the respective web server. I would like to design a Visual Force page over here. Here I'm indicating that information. Enter postal pin code. Enter postal pin code. Now I'm placing a text box over here. In order to enter the pin code number, okay, I'm placing a text box. Here I'm giving some watermark over here. Enter pin code. Now I'm placing one button control. I'm placing a button control. Search details. Search details. Okay, search details. So now this is the this is the search text box that we have. This is the search text box. After entering this particular pin code number inside this text box, when you click on search details button, then it has to connect to the respective web service. It has to connect to the respective web service. It has to make a request to this web service over here. It has to get the response back. It has to get the response back. That means I would like to integrate through live. It's a request. And then it should get the response back. It should get the response back. That response information I want to show in my Visual First page in a tabular format. I would like to design a table. In this table, I would like to represent that information in the form of tabular format. Like as branch name, and then delivery status, and then circle, and then division, like that. I would like to indicate this information. I would like to show these details. So I'm going to be indicating that a branch name. What are the details we are collecting over here? Yesterday we have discussed, right? Name of the branch. Name of the branch. And then branch delivery status. Delivery status. Branch type. Circle. Circle. And then district. Like that. I would like to place that fields also here. Columns, tables, and my table. And then here I would like to show the number of records has been written. Number of records. Total records count. I would like to show that number of records has been written as the result. Okay, how many number of records it has written? This is my use case. Through live, I would like to invoke this web service which has been prepared by the Post Department people of the Government of India. I would like to connect to that web service, and then I would like to pass that pin code number. Based on that pin code, it has to get that respective branch details. Those branch details I want to show in my Visual First page in the tabular format. This is what my use case. Okay, this is what my use case. If you know this diagram, then you can able to explain to the people this is how we need to implement. And then if they ask about the steps, then you can explain these are the steps we need to follow here. Okay, we have followed. Okay, these are the steps we have to follow, implementation steps. So I would like to follow all these 4 steps right now. Now this is my use case. Take that use case. Design a Visual First page to represent the postal department branches department branch details based on the specified pin code number, based on the pin code number, by integrating the Salesforce with the postal pin code, web service, by integrating that Salesforce with postal pin code web service. So now, here in this case, how can we implement this functionality? Now let's see. So first of all, here, what needs to be done? First of all, get that required input. Let me explain each and every step by step, one by one. First of all, this is the step one. Okay, get the required input values to invoke the third-party web service as a step one. Let me place. These are the 4 steps, right? Okay, 4 steps. These are the steps we used to follow. I'm giving step-by-step implementation to you. Now, this is the step one. So what we need to collect the endpoint URL. First of all, we need the endpoint URL. So what is that endpoint URL? When you go to that web service, this is the endpoint URL. This is the endpoint URL. Based on the pin code I'm searching here. Endpoint URL. Here we have to specify the pin code number. Here pin code number. This pin code number we are collecting from where? From our Visual Force page, from the text box, from this text box. Whatever the pin code number you have entered over here, this pin code number I would like to place it over here. And then method type. What type of method is get method? How do we know? Because in the documentation clearly they are indicating that this is the get method. See, they are indicating clearly this is the get method.
Sir, why we use get method only, sir?
They have implemented through get method only, because this web service will be collecting input like a pin code number. It will be returning that response back to you. To get the data from that web service, we are using get method, because this is the implementation they did already. Okay.
Okay, sir.
This web service is purely a get method, because they have implemented that HTTP get method inside the web service, and then they're collecting that pin code number. Based on that pin code, they are going to be returning that value. So to get the response from this particular web service, we are using this get method. This is the first step. Next, so whatever the web service URL is available, add this web service URL inside that remote site setting. This is the second step here. As a second step, we have to add it into the remote settings. This is the web service URL. We no need to specify the complete path. Up to this part is sufficient. Up to this part is sufficient. Then how can we do that? Now let me show you. Let me copy this part. Go to your Salesforce instance. Let me log in into my Salesforce instance. Let me log in into my Salesforce instance. Go to the setup menu. Go to the administrator menu in the left panel. Go to the security controls. Here we are having an option called as remote site settings option. There is an option called as remote site settings. In this remote site settings, add your web service URL. Click on this remote site settings. Whatever the web services to which you would like to connect, add that web service URL inside your Salesforce instance in the remote site settings, or else Salesforce won't allow you to connect. That is the rule. Now click on new remote site button. Add that web service URL. Enter the remote site name. You can give any name over here. I would like to indicate Indian Postal Department endpoint. Indian Postal Department endpoint. Here we can able to post that web service URL. Click on save. Now here you have to specify like as a single name, single word. Now, so now save it. It will be placing up to this part only here. The complete path it won't take up. It will be taking up to that domain name only here, like as api.pincode.in. That is it. Next, I'm done with that step 2 also. Next, the third one, invoke that request, okay, by using HTTP request and HTTP response class. HTTP response classes, get the response from the web service. Then how can we do that? We have to write the code. So let me design the Visualforce page first. I want to design the page like this. This is my Visualforce page which I would like to design. Now let me design the page. Apex, postal pin code, web service page. Postal pin code, web service. Now click on this page. Now, in this case here, first of all, design the page like this. Okay, up to this part. Design the page like this. I'm going to be giving the default tags, default properties. Set equals to false. Sidebar equals to false. Show header equals to true. Tab style equals to, I'm indicating the candidate object tab style. And then I'm indicating that section header. Section header title equals to a web service. And then subtitle equals to postal branches. Postal branches. I'm indicating that form tag. I'm indicating the form tag. I'm defining a page block. For this case, I'm indicating the title, set postal branches. Postal branches. And then I'm indicating that page block section. Page block section. Title equals to set post office details. Post office. And then I would like to indicate the number of columns equals to 2 and the collapsible equals to false. I don't want the collapsible option. Okay, I don't want the collapsible option. Here I would like to place a text box and then a button control too. I'm placing this. Apex input text label equals to enter postal pin code number, and then HTML placeholder equals to enter pin code, and then I'm placing the button control. Apex command button value equals to search details. I would like to place one text box here. I'm placing the button control right now. Next. So now I would like to display the results. For that one, I would like to use one separate table in the page block. So I'm taking one more page block here. Apex page block. I'm indicating the title equals to number of records found. I would like to show that records inside the page block table. Here I would like to place the page block table here. So I'm indicating that ID equals to pg block. When I click on this button control, okay, it has to re-render this particular page block. Re-render equals to pg block. I would like to refresh this particular part here. Here I would like to show the post office branch details. Now the actual story begins. Okay, now the actual story begins. Now we have to write the code. Up to this part, you know. When I click on this button control, okay, search details. When I click on this button controls, I would like to invoke that web service. How to connect to the web service? By using HTTP class, HTTP request, HTTP response. How can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. Now, let me write that piece of code. So for that one, we have to prepare the controller. Controller equals to postal pin code web service controller. I'm preparing a controller class, postal pin code web service controller. This is the controller class which I would like to prepare. Now click on this link, then it is going to be preparing the controller class. In this controller class, we need to write that piece of code. In this controller class, we need to write that piece of code. So what is that piece of code we need to write? Now let's see here. So now here in this case, I'm preparing that. Okay, now I'm preparing this. Now, first of all, what we need to do, whatever the value we have entered in the text box, suppose for example, here I have entered 500038. This pin code value I need to collect into my Apex class here, so that I'm defining a variable. Public string pin code number. I'm making it as get and set. Now, so in this case, I'm defining a variable pin code number. In this pin code number, I would like to store this pin code value so that I'm mapping this variable, okay, with this particular text box. So when I go to this text box, I'm indicating a property that is called as value property. Here we can able to map this variable. So from now onwards, whatever the value we have entered inside my text box, this value will store inside my variable. From there, we can able to invoke this. Now, here prepare the method. Public void search branch details. I'm preparing that method here. I'm preparing the method. So this method I would like to call. Upon click on the button control, I would like to call this method. This method will collect this pin code based on that. It has to connect to the respective web service. It has to search the details here. I would like to call this method. Upon click on this button control, I would like to call this method. So I'm indicating action equals to this method name. Now, so now here we need to write that logic here. What are the logic that you want? We can able to write this logic in order to specify that information. Okay, now, so in this case, whenever if I'm writing this code, okay, here it won't provide any IntelliSense to you. If you want the IntelliSense, then we can go to the developer console. There also you can write, no problem. Let me show you how can we write this logic from developer console. Go to the developer console, open this class by using that open menu item. Go to the file, open menu item, open that class. What is my class name now? My class name is postal pin code web service controller. This is the class name. So let's write that code over here. First of all, what we need that endpoint URL. Okay, we need that endpoint URL here. So first of all, if there is a pin code number, then only I would like to search for the content. Or else I don't want to search. For that one, I'm indicating that if the pin code number value not equals to null and pin code number not equals to empty. If the pin code number value is not equals to null and not equals to empty, then only I would like to search for I would like to invoke that web service. How can we prepare that web service? You know that here. Now, string endpoint URL. Endpoint URL. So what is that endpoint URL? Web service URL. Okay, this is the web service URL that we have collected from this particular website. This is that pin code. Here we have to specify the pin code number here. I'm indicating slash. After that, I would like to add the pin code number. Pin code number is there inside my pin code number variable here. So here I'm indicating appending the pin code number variable. That's it. Simple. Okay. This is the endpoint URL. So whatever the endpoint URL is available, in order to connect to the web service, we have to specify that endpoint URL. Now, so we are ready with that web service URL here. Next, now we need to use that HTTP classes. By using that HTTP classes, we have to write that piece of code. Then how can we write that HTTP classes? Okay, now let's see practically in this case. Now, first of all, use that class here. HTTP request. Now I'm indicating postal request. P request equals to new HTTP request. I'm preparing the object of this class. HTTP request, P request equals to HTTP request class. So I'm creating the object of that HTTP request class to prepare the request. Here we need to specify the parameters. P request dot set endpoint. There is a method called as set endpoint. So where is that endpoint URL that is there inside my parameter? Inside this variable, I'm having this endpoint URL. Next, P request set method. So what is that method type? That method is a get method here, because they're clearly indicating that as part of the documentation, they have clearly indicating that this is a get method, which is used to get the data. We are not inserting, we are not updating, just we are getting the data based on the pin code number. Next, and then we can specify that P request dot set timeout. I'm using like a some 12,000 seconds. Okay, 12,000 seconds. So I'm ready with the request here. Now prepare the response. Okay, prepare the response. HTTP response, P response equals to new HTTP response. New HTTP response. I'm not storing anything, just have created the object of this class. When you will get the response, if you send the request, then you will get the response. How to send the request? By using HTTP class. So create the object of the HTTP class. HTTP P HTTP equals to new HTTP. I'm creating the object of the HTTP class and then send that. How to send that request? P HTTP dot send method. What is that request? This is the request P request. Postal request, which I would like to send. Whenever I'm sending this request, it will be getting the response right. So now that response I'm storing inside my P response. P response equals to inside this I'm storing this response over here. That's it, simple. Prepare that. Use the three classes: HTTP class, HTTP request, HTTP response. So we are able to send the request. We are able to get the response here. Now, so now once we get the response, then we can able to show that response on our Visual Force page also, no problem. That facility is available over here. But here the actual story will begin. Okay, here the actual story begins. But it is going to be sending the response in the form of what? It is sending the response in the form of JSON format. But we need to parse that JSON format. Let me print this information on that Visual Force page first. Now here I'm going to be preparing a small variable right now. Public string JSON response get and set JSON response. Here, whatever the response I'm collecting over here, JSON response equals to P response dot get body. Whatever the response returned by the web service, that will be storing inside that body. So we are going to be collecting that response. I'm storing inside this variable. Now this in this variable, I would like to store this response here. That response I want to display on my Visual Force page. Let's see. In this case, how can we do this? Let's refresh this page. You will be getting that latest code into this particular editor. I got that latest code. I want to show this variable on my Visual Force page in the page block here. In this page block, I would like to show that variable here. JSON response. That's it. That means here I'm not arranging in the form of tabular format. Just I'm printing whether I'm getting the response or not. For the testing purpose, I'm displaying this value here. Okay. First of all, I'm testing that whether I'm able to connect to the web service or not. Whether I'm able to get the response or not. If I'm getting the response, then I will write the code to parse that code. For example, I'm indicating 500,001. Click on search details button. It will connect to that web service. Now we are getting the response over here. See, I'm getting that response. Now it is working fine. That means I'm able to connect to that postal department web service through live. Suppose I'm indicating this. 522124. Click on search details. I'm able to get the data over here. Now it is getting this response. For example, I'm indicating 500038. Now click on search details. I'm able to get that response over here. But it is showing in the form of JSON. But now what I need to do, I need to convert this JSON format of content into my tabular format. I would like to design a table. In this table, I will show. Up to this is I have tested. I'm able to make a request. I'm getting the response. It is fine. But now, how to parse this content? Already you know. In order to parse that content, we are using JSON parser classes. Now, let's see how to parse this content over here. So whenever I'm giving some content here, like as some 522124, then it is returning so many records. Now, if I'm parsing this entire content token by token, token by token, will it take more time, right? Yes. For that one here, in each and every branch, okay, these are the details here. Let me copy this one. This is the response it returns to me, this entire code. But multiple branches are available. Total number of branches is, let me explain here. This is an array. This is the message is number of postal branches are 15. Status is success. Post office, this is the field which will be having the array. And then here the first branch details. These are the details of the first branch. This is the first branch details. And this is the second branch details here. And this is the third branch details. Here's the fourth branch details. Like that here, multiple branches. In each and every branch, I'm having the name and the description, branch type, delivery status, and the circle, district, division, region, block, state, country, and the pin code. Then here in this case, if you're having this kind of lengthy information, more number of records, okay, if the web service is returning to you, then we can create your own class. Then we can create your own class type. So that means in each and every branch, I'm having this kind of details, right? The same details are available. Name, description, field names are same. Values are different here. Name, description, branch type, delivery status, circle, district, division, region, then block, and the state, and the country, and the pin code. Okay, this information is available here. So I would like to prepare a class so that I can able to deserialize this entire content into my object type in one shot. For that reason, I am going to preparing a separate class over here. Okay, I'm preparing a separate class. These are all our string type of values. So let me prepare a class over here. I'm preparing a class. I'm preparing a class. Now I'm giving that class name as post office branch. Post office branch. Here I'm defining the variable. Public string the variables. Okay, with this details I'm preparing the variables. Yeah. Name. Public string. What is the second parameter? Description. Public string branch type. Public string delivery status. Public string circle. Public string district. Public string division. Public string region. public string block, public string state, public string country, public string pin code. With this details, I'm preparing my own class. So if you're having your own class, directly we can deserialize. That is one of the major benefit. Okay, that is one of the major benefit here. So whatever the data that we have, whatever the multiple records that we have, all those multiple records we can able to deserialize in one shot. That facility is available in this case over here. Okay, that facility is available in this case. Then how can we do that? Now let's see practically in this case. Now, so let me go with this code here in this case. So we are getting some response over here. This is the response information. Based on this response, we need to parse it. Okay, till now here. Till now, what I did, invoke the web service and get the response. Get the response. And then from here, parse the response by using JSON parser and represent on the VF page. Then how can we do that? Okay, now let's see. Invoking the web service, getting the response is not a big deal. It's a very simple. Same code. But parsing the code is a bit typical. That is what we have to understand. Okay, that's what I have spent some 2 sessions completely on, 3 sessions completely on JSON. Now, let's see how can we parse this content over here. Now, let me show you practically in this case. So, first of all, we have to create the JSON parser. Now, in this case, system.json parser p parser. Okay, postal department parser, so that I'm indicating p parser. You can give any name. System.json.create parser. Of we have to parse the JSON string. Where is that JSON string is available? In my response body. Okay, so whatever the response that I'm collecting in that response body, I'm having this JSON string. So this is JSON string I'm passing to the create parser. So boss, this is the JSON content that I'm receiving from the third-party web service. I would like to parse this one. So please divide them to the various small tokens. Now, so now here in this case, here what we can do. Now let's see practically in this case. Now here I would like to verify. While I would like to parse this content from starting to ending of the token. So while if p parser dot next to token not equals to null. Okay, while p parser dot next to token not equals to null. That means I would like to iterate this content till I'm reaching to that last next to token as null. Now I would like to verify. The first two token is equals to message. Now, so in this case, what happened? We are receiving the response like this. This is the response. First of all, I would like to collect this message here. So now collect this. If p parser dot get current token is equals to JSON token dot field name. JSON token dot field name, and that too if that field name is equals to message or not. P parser dot get text is equals to message. Okay, p parser dot get text equals to message. Now, so then what we can do here in this case? In this case, I would like to move the cursor. Okay, I would like to move the cursor to next one line. So here I would like to show that number of branches has been found. I would like to show over here. Now, p parser dot next token. I would like to show this information. Now, system dot debug. I would like to indicate that number of branches found. Number of branches found. I would like to indicate p parser dot get text. Now, the next one. If the next one, I'm verifying this. The next token over here, I'm going to be verifying inside this. If p parser dot get current token is equals to JSON token dot field name, and that too if p parser dot get text is equals to status, because second field is what? Status. Is it equals to status or not? If yes, I would like to collect that status information. P parser dot next token, because the value is available in the next token here. System dot debug. Now I would like to indicate that the web service invocation status is, I would like to indicate p parser dot get text. P parser dot get text. I'm indicating this value. Next, after that, now here in this case, I would like to verify if p parser dot get current token equals to JSON token dot field name, and the two if p parser dot get text is equals to. So what is the third element here? The third element is post office. If it is a post office, here the actual details are available. Post office. Then what we can do? Now I would like to verify what is the value over here. Okay, what is the value over here? So I would like to go to the value. Value would like to move to the next cursor, next token, but this is an array over here. Now, p parser dot next token. But when I go to the next token, I would like to verify whether this is the starting of that array or not. Whether it is a starting of that array or not. How can we verify? If p parser dot get current token is equals to JSON token dot starting of the array or not. If it is a starting of the array or not. If yes, if it is a starting of the array, then move the cursor to the next line here. So that I'm using p parser dot next token. Here we are having the actual information. Okay, here we are having the actual information is available. Here we have repeatedly we have multiple. Okay, this is one. Okay, branch information. This is the second branch information. This is the third branch information. So we have to iterate this one. Okay, we have to iterate this one. Okay, now. So now here in this case here. Okay, now here in this case. So I would like to iterate this one. If this particular current token value is equals to, okay, the starting of the object here, then I would like to iterate this one. Now here I would like to verify while p parser dot get current token is equals to JSON token dot starting of that array. Okay, sorry, starting of the object here. starting of the object, because this is the starting of the object here. This is the starting of the object. Then up to this one, I would like to parse. How can we parse this one? Now let's see. For that one here, we are going to be using that functionality. If it is the starting of the object, then I would like to specify p parser dot, okay, read value as. So in this case here, whatever the entire object, nothing but starting of the object, okay, till ending of the object here, it will collect. This entire value will be related to one post office branch information. For that one, to store the post office branch information, already have prepared this particular class. So post office branch type, okay, post office branch type dot class, okay, post office branch type dot class. So this is the post office branch type dot class. But in this case, what it will read? It will be reading one branch information. This branch information will be treating in the form of a subject type. But I want to convert into my own type. My own type means what? Post office branch type. But how to store it somewhere, right? Yes. I would like to prepare a collection. I would like to prepare a collection over here. Collection of branches. Why? Because here, not only one branch. Okay, this is one branch information, and then it will go to the next one, next branch information. While loop I have prepared with the third branch information, fourth branch information, like that. Multiple branches are available over here, so that I have used while loop. That means if it is the starting of the object, then just get that entire object information, convert into in the form of post office branch class type, and then we will be treating like as object type. I want to convert into my own type, and I want to store inside my variable. So second branch information, third branch, fourth branch, like that, I would like to prepare. For that one, I'm preparing a list collection. Okay, for that one, I'm preparing a list collection over here. Public list of post office branch details, LST branches information, LST postal branches. LST postal branches get and set. Why I'm defining get and set? Because here what will happen, these post office branches I want to show on my Visual First page. That's what I'm defining it as get and set. See, this is my one class type. That's what I told you. List collection can store primitive type of values, and then a subject type of values, collection type of values, apex type of values, and now user defined. This is my user defined class type. This user defined types of elements also we can store inside it. Now here I'm creating the object of this. LST postal branches equals to new list of post office branch. Post office branch. Now I want to convert into my own type, and then I would like to add it to my branch over here. Once it has been converted, I'm storing inside this. Once it has been converted, then I'm going to preparing. Post office branch. I'm indicating branch info. I'm storing inside my variable here. Once it has been stored, I would like to add it into my collection here. LST, okay, postal branches dot add of branch info. Now that's it, simple. So what it means here, instead of passing each and every object separately by using each and every element separately, just what I'm doing, this entire object I'm going to be parsing in one shot. For that one, I have prepared class. In this class, I have defined all the fields, okay, all the key names, and then I'm going to be typecasting by using read value as. Treat this entire object as a single value and convert into my own type here. That means post office branch, because that is one branch information, convert into my branch, and then this will be treating like as a subject type. I want to convert into my own type, and then I'm storing inside my post office branch variable. Once it is ready, then I'm adding to the collection. Then it will go to that next branch. It will go to the next object here. Then this will be the second one. Then this will be the second one here. Once the branch information has been added, I would like to move the cursor to the next line here. For that one, I'm using pparser dot next token. Next token means it will go to the next token. Here, this is the next token. This is the starting of the object or not. If yes, it will be collecting that second branch information, the complete one. It will be converting into my branch type. It will be adding the collection here. Then moving the cursor to the next line. So here we are having that the starting of the object. It will treat that entire branch information like as a single value. It will be converting into my one type. It is adding here. So all the branches information will be storing inside my collection. Once all the branches information is available inside the collection, then we can able to represent this branch details inside your first page here. Okay, we can represent this whole information inside your result first page. That's it, simple concept. Now, so now let me show you this one. Whenever if you want to show this information on the visual first page, these fields should be defined with the get inset, right? Yes, because these fields I want to show on my visual first page. These fields I want to show on my visual first page. That's what here I'm defining this each and every variable with get inset. Because this each and every field I want to show on my visual first page in the form of tabular format. Now, okay, now that's it. Implementation is over. Now come to the visual first page. To represent this information, whatever the columns you want, we can show on your page block table. Now, let's go to your editor. Now, I got this enter code over here. So now let's go to this. Design the page block table. I don't want to show this response over here. I want to represent this page block table. Apex page block table. Value equals to specify the collection. Where exactly my records are available. My records are available inside my collection. Where is my collection? This is the collection. Where exactly my records are available here. Postal branches, LST postal branches. And I'm indicating that. The var equals to, okay, POS. I'm indicating post office branch. Here I'm indicating the columns. Column value equals to, I would like to specify POS dot, what is that first field you want to show? I want to show that name field over here. Okay, I would like to show the name field. And then we can specify the header value. Header value. I'm going to be indicating the name. Here we can specify that name field. And then, like the similar way, represent the remaining fields also one by one. Now, the second field, which you would like to show, branch type. I'm giving the name as header value, column name as branch type. Third one, delivery status. I'm indicating this, delivery status. Fourth one, I'm indicating circle field. I want to show the circle field. And the district, I'm representing the district. And then division. And then I am going to be indicating state. State. Country. And the pin code. These are the columns I want to show on my table. Along with that, number of records found. Here I would like to indicate this message also. I'm indicating LST postal branches dot size. We have the listing collection, right? We can able to get that size over here. That's it. We are able to show this whole information over here. We can name of the branch, branch type, delivery status, circle, district, division, state, country, pin code, all this information. That's it. Now, let's see. So I'm entering the pin code here, 500001. When I click on the search details, it will be executing the code. It will search the data. Those branches information will return to me here in the form of tabular format. So it's a live connection with that, live integration with that postal department websites. Now, for example, I'm indicating 522124. Such details. We can get all the branches information. Totally 15 branches are there. Are the branch names over here. Can you give me any one of your postal code, your area's postal code? Place your postal code inside that chat window. Any one of your postal code, just post into your chat window. Okay, thank you. Five 518,001. 518,001. Now we are able to get 5. So like as Karnool, Karnool Bazaar, Karnool district code, Karnool Chowk, okay, Usmania College, like that. These are the post office branch details. And for example, I would like to search in the SR Nagar 500038. Search the details. We can able to collect that branch information. 2 branches are there in SR Nagar. One is Sanjeev Reddy Nagar branch and the Vengal Rao Nagar branch. Like that, the live data we can able to connect with the help of this integration facility. This is how we are going to be integrating with the third-party systems. But always you have to follow the same steps, no change at all. No change at all. We have to follow the same steps over here. Upon implementing that, we have to follow the same steps. Okay. This is how we are going to be integrating with that third-party web services, and then we can through live, and then we can able to integrate by using this HTTP class, HTTP request, HTTP response. And then the most important one is parsing that JSON content is most important. Okay, invoke request and getting the response is very, very simple. For just 5 to 6 lines you can do. But upon parsing that, it will take some time. That means it will take some time to write your code. We have to get that response and then we have to parse it. Before parsing that, first of all, get that response and then print on your Visual Force page whether really your web service is connecting properly or not, working properly or not. Okay, so then if it is working properly, then write that code based on that response. Write that parsing code in order to parse that content and then show wherever you want. In your Visual Force page also, in your database also we can store, and then we can pass to some other web service also as an input. You can do whatever you want. These are the steps we used to follow in order to connect to the third-party web services. Okay. Clear? This is the concept of integrating the third-party web services through live. And then regarding that approvals and the flows, can I share the videos to you? Will you go through that?
Okay, Firoz, share it.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I will do that one.
Okay.
Okay.